Coming up on One Detroit, COVID-19 concerns shut down schools for the rest of the year. Dr. Vitti on how the Detroit district will change. Plus, making protective masks, one 3D printer at a time. Also, concerns on water shutoffs. Then Stephen Henderson and Nolan Finley join me to catch up. And then a little musical theater performance from Wayne State. Stay with me. One Detroit is coming up.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. And thank you to these supporters. And viewers like you.
Hi there, I'm Christy McDonald, and welcome to One Detroit. I know that we are living in some difficult and sometimes very scary times as COVID-19 is impacting all of our lives. Here at Detroit Public Television and One Detroit, we are doing daily updates and interviews and putting them up at onedetroitpbs.org to keep you informed, and make sure you check in with us across our social media platforms as news continues to develop. We have a couple of big stories that we're watching here this week, and one of them is the impact of shutting down schools for the rest of the year. I had a really good conversation with Detroit Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Vitti on how his district will have to work to make sure kids don't fall too far behind. Plus, then Nolan Finley, Stephen Henderson, and myself will meet up and we'll talk about some of the impact on the city of Detroit as a hot zone. We're also going to talk a little bit about water shutoffs, and then you'll see how some people are using 3D printers to make protective masks. That's what we have for you coming up on One Detroit. A lot of people are talking about schools, so we wanted to talk about it as well. And joining me is Dr. Nikolai Vitti. He is the superintendent of the Detroit Public School Community District. Dr. Vitti, it's good to see you. Could you kind of put into words what this has been like for you and leading the district in these last 3 weeks and having to change, turn on a dime, everything that you're doing and concentrate in entirely new and different ways?
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard, I think, more than anything else, just emotionally knowing the negative impact the virus is having on families and individuals. I think that's probably the hardest part of all of this. And what we've been trying to do is just stay very much proactive in our communication and transparent regarding where things stand with us and then what's happening at the state level.
Tell me a little bit about what are parents saying and what are kids sharing with you?
Right now, what we're hearing from parents is a level of frustration, honestly, about the need for more learning to take place at home and the reality of the digital divide. We only have about 10% of our 50,000 students that are actively using the online platforms that we've provided because a lot of our families don't have access to a device or internet access.
And the crisis really has shown the stark inequality between our districts across the state. And that really is the conversation that many people are having now. So you make the case for saying, look, we should shut down for the rest of the year, move to an online platform. What does that look like for the Detroit district? And what do you need then to put in place? And what do you think should be put in place across the state?
Well, I commended Dr. Rice's decision, the state superintendent, that learning should not be required and learning shouldn't be given with grades or credits. And I think the reason he did that is because he does recognize the inequity throughout our communities regarding access to consistent technology. And if he didn't do that, then what we would have is a situation where the haves would continue to accelerate their learning with grade accumulation, credit accumulation, and just advancing at a faster pace than other families who economically don't have access to the same technology, or just the human capital that parents exist with multiple degrees or a degree period. So I commended him for that. I do believe that if schools are shut down, we should still be providing learning opportunities, just not required for a grade. One of the reasons why I've advocated to shut down is so that organizationally we can shift to providing more resources to families in this online type of platform and environment. And instead of waiting to suspend school every 2 to 3 weeks, we just say we're shutting down, and then I can completely shift. We can train teachers on more online platforms. We can rally the business community to try to get a device and internet access to every family. And then we just expand the resources online and continue to print packets for parents and students to complete at home and possibly turn that in for feedback. But we're prepared as DPSCD to shift the learning platform and just a delivery of instruction to a more online basis. That could mean using Teams as a technology platform, using FaceTime, using videoed lessons, and simply just calling in and touching in with students. 80% of our families have already been reached out to from school-based administrators and teachers, and we just want to continue that momentum, but tie it specifically to learning opportunities.
You know, we continually have the conversation of falling behind. What do the test scores say? What does this do, I guess, for your students? What do you think it does for Michigan as a whole, and how do we regroup from this?
Well, anyone who tells you that we haven't lost time instructionally or we haven't lost learning is just telling people what they want to hear. At the end of the day, you can't replicate being in a classroom with a certified teacher with a regular pace of instruction and assignments and feedback, coupled even with testing. So we've lost instructional time and we've lost instructional learning. Again, I just want to be direct and admit that up front. Now, I think we have to try to make up for as much lost time as possible and just continue the brain working through this crisis for our children. So they're still reading, they're talking about what they're reading, they're writing, they're doing mathematical problems, just to keep learning ongoing in a consistent habit of theirs. But there's no question that when we hopefully start regularly in the fall, what I've seen is that when people come back, they come back with a renewed sense of urgency, a sense of purpose that time is now of catching up. And I've already seen so many of our employees stepping up with reaching out to parents, videotaping, providing feedback now. And I just think everyone's going to be much more charged, appreciative of one another, of just what we do as educators.
All right, and our thanks to Dr. Vitti. Of course, schools is one of the things that we want to talk about, but there's so much going on. And joining me, haven't seen these guys in a long time, Nolan Finley, Stephen Henderson, and the power of technology. How are you guys?
Good. Well.
It's great to see you. All right, Nolan, so tell us where you are. I find this entire thing fascinating because, you know, you can see where people are in place. Where are you?
Well, I'm in my office. There's 3 of us in here, and we're sharing about 20,000 square feet. So social distancing has not been a problem.
There you go. And Stephen, where are you coming to us from right now?
I am at home. I am in the family room of our home in Northwest Detroit, and it has now become like the TV studio. So
it's funny because I kind of had to build a little bit of one. You can see a little bit behind me because we're doing so much stuff around here, and I figured the basement and Lego collections was not the place to have it done. So let me just kind of get perspective from both of you, what the last couple of weeks has been like personally and then professionally. Nolan, I'll start with you.
I've been busy, and I'm getting a little tired of not being able to go to a restaurant, enjoy a decent meal, and have a bourbon in a proper establishment. It's a change of life.
Yeah, it's been a lot. What about you, Stephen?
I mean, professionally, you always imagine that you might be alive to have to cover something like this or make sense of it for people. I mean, it's that part of it is mind-blowing, but there's also just this incredible fear and sadness that is everywhere right now. And the number of people who I know who are sick, the number of people I know who've died already just a few weeks into this is really staggering. And I find myself getting up every day thinking, what's next and how much worse can this get? And you hate to even project too far because, at this point, I'm still at the point where each day is a little worse than the day before.
And that's what I feel like everything's been like a lifetime in one day, and you kind of go hour to hour on change. Nolan?
Well, the isolation too from the people you care about has been, getting a little stressful. I've been busy, so I haven't noticed it all that much, but, I can't see my grandchildren. They're afraid they're going to, give Papa the COVID-19 virus. And the children, it's interesting to see the children they don't quite get this, but they're aware of what's going on. And I think they're very frightened. I mean, you've got young children and it's hard for them to digest and why they can't do this or why they can't do that. And I can't imagine being 7, 8 years old and trying to comprehend this, plague, if you will, and how it's changed their lives.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a generation of young people who are now forever changed, much like things that happened in our generation, in our lifetimes, that kind of
or 9/11 for that generation.
Exactly of what. And I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary school kid, and it's different. And the reaction is different for each age level. And I think that is a good way to springboard into talking a little bit about schools, no more face-to-face instruction for the rest of the year. And I really think every district has got to figure out exactly how they're going to do this. I know they've already been in that process, Stephen.
Yeah, it's chaotic, of course. You have real differences in learning among school districts, in terms of what they're able to do. First of all, but also what they want to do. I mean, some districts seem to be embracing the idea that, hey, look, this is different and we ought to differentiate it for that reason and try to do something that makes sense on the medium where we're trying to teach. You have other districts that are just trying to replicate the school day, which I gotta say, that seems a tougher task to me and maybe a little off the mark. But again, all of this happens instantly, and we've got to figure out what makes sense. You can't really blame anybody for what they're doing. The real question is going to be how long before we have to make plans for this to be this way in the fall. I know that there are universities that are already talking about what online learning would have to look like for an entire semester in the fall. Schools will be right behind that, having to think that through.
Yeah, and I think
Christy, if I could add to that, I think schools have to stop thinking about for the time being this in terms of school years. As soon as this threat abates enough for it's safe to return kids to school, we need to get those kids back in the classroom, whether it's June or July, and keep them there for the duration, because we don't know what's going to happen in the fall or this time next year. We might have to turn schools out again. So as soon as it's safe, put them in. Don't think about this in terms of this school year or next school year. We need to continue a school year until we know we're out of the woods.
So you're talking about starting the 180 instruction days, like starting the clock whenever that time of year would be.
I don't think you can even think in terms of 180 days. I think we need to get every day of instruction in that we can. So if we get to June 1st and it's safe to put kids back in school, put them back in and leave them there until we see whether or not we're going to have to suspend school again in January or February.
The big question too is connectivity, and you have a lot of districts that do not have the ability to connect kids online. The kids do not have the devices to be able to connect in as well. Stephen, I'm going to let you get the last word on that.
Well, I mean, that highlights a divide that exists all the time, but now it's more important, right? Now all of a sudden it really matters. I know that Nikolai Vitti and the others in Detroit schools are working really hard to try to make sure that every kid has a laptop and a connection, but we're going to have to, if this is going to go on for any length of time, there's going to have to be some massive effort to make sure that we can meet the compulsory education laws of the state and make sure everybody has a chance to take advantage.
All right, well, we'll keep looking at this. And again, the world keeps changing by the day, but I have to say it's really good to see you guys. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Stay home and stay safe.
I'm talking with Demeeko Williams with Hydrate Detroit. You've been working a long time trying to get water for people, and that's why I wanted to talk to you today. What's going on now with the governor?
I am very proud of the governor for taking preventative measures and further steps to ensure that all water is turned on throughout the state of Michigan. This is very important. We want to make sure that everyone has access to wash their hands and to stay clean during this coronavirus. The governor really took a bold step, and I want her to enforce it to all cities and townships within the state of Michigan, starting with Mayor Mike Duggan, to ensure that water shutoffs stop and that every home in the city of Detroit and also in Flint to be restored. Flint is getting clean pods. They're having access to clean water. It's been a tough road for them, but this order benefits greatly for all cities that have been beleaguered by water troubles.
This order from the governor, were you surprised that it happened, or how did that work?
I was very surprised, considering a couple of weeks ago where she denied the order to declare a public health emergency in regards to the city of Detroit. And now that Detroit is experiencing an epicenter of coronaviruses and deaths related, I think it was an eye-opening moment for the governor to move on these action steps and to make sure water is accessible and available to every home in the city of Detroit to curb the spread.
Hydrate Detroit helps those who've lost their running water. Williams on the front lines, making deliveries, negotiating lower water bills.
We reach out to social media. We reach out to our friends, our family, our neighbors to see what they can do to help.
With COVID-19, the city has turned the water back on for many hundreds, with more to come, even before the governor's order. A couple years ago came concern over waterborne illnesses like hepatitis A. Back then, when Detroit's Will Glover told us the story of some who lost their water.
Charlotte Woods works full-time at an auto parts manufacturer. She's also a single mother with 4 kids. Her water was shut off 2 months ago. She says she can probably handle reasonable water bill payments, but not a bill adding up to thousands.
Wow.
Yes, wow.
What in the world?
Yeah.
What happened here?
There is a spout that's on the other side of this house.
Okay.
And I was unaware that was there. I didn't know it was there. And I've been here about maybe ever since I bought the house in March of 14. And I didn't know that there was a spigot on the other side. The only way I found out was that the next door neighbor was like, "Did you know that there was water running?" This water right here will probably last me for about 4 days. I'm just worried, first of all, just about the kids. That's my biggest concern, is the kids.
When your water is shut off, you do not have any access to clean your house. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, you have to learn survival methods. Getting rainwater out of a trash can is not access to clean water. Do your business and defecate in bags to throw in the garbage can. And then when you're washing your hands with the sanitizer and stuff that's already been touched, the bacteria is cross-contaminating. We also have restaurant workers that are working in service industries. If they have their water shut off, they're not washing their hands or keeping hygienically clean. And so we've been screaming this for a couple of years that Michigan is an outbreak of hepatitis A. That was in 2015. So this has been a slow accumulation of many things that were to break out. And I hate that it had to be the coronavirus to make everyone realize how important staying clean and hand washing is.
What do you think will happen after this crisis goes away? Are we back where we were?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What Hydrate Detroit is willing to do is we are willing to move forward with our proposal for debt consolidation, for the water amnesty relief plan to be implemented throughout the state so that we can cut some of these high debts that Michiganders have been having at keeping water affordable and accessible. We also want to make sure that we work with partners to address affordability issues in the state of Michigan, because it was for all of the affordability issues that led to people having their water shut off. We want to make sure that that's eliminated, the debt is clear, and that everyone starts back at a zero balance.
There is a critical need at hospitals all over Michigan for supplies, especially face masks. And Kevin Leeser says if you have a 3D printer, he wants to hear from you. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So you're a registered nurse, but you have come up with this idea and started Operation Face Shield Ann Arbor, creating face shields from 3D printers. Tell me how this is all working.
The first thing I was like, what can we use? This is going to be guerrilla medicine. By the end of the week, we're going to run out of materials. Everything's coming from China and the supply chain is broken. Right. We're not going to be able to order anything. So I knew that was going to happen. And so I wanted to utilize what we have in every hospital, which is a 3-hole punch and these pins that will affix to a 3-hole punched film.
So when you started talking to other people like, hey, do you have a 3D printer? This is what we're doing. How many people did you get response from? And how many masks do you think that you've been able to create so far and distribute?
Yesterday at the barrel, we have a pickle barrel while people are dropping these into a bleach solution to just basically sanitize them. Yesterday at the bucket at 5 o'clock, I went and poked my head in and it was full. I mean, it's like, it's an amazing experience to look in there and be like, wow, people are dropping these from all over the city. So there's about 170 in there yesterday, and we delivered 100 of them to Beaumont, Royal Oak, and then 70 of them went to St. Joe's in Ann Arbor. And then the day before that, we delivered about 100 the day before. So it's getting exponentially bigger too. Like, so on day one, I gave away 3. And then once this thing took off, I took some to a market in Ann Arbor, a Japanese market. He wanted some for his employees. So I gave him like 6. And then the next day, Huron Valley Ambulance reached out and gave them 20. And they were like, wow, because they're on the front lines. The guys in the ambulances are really who are the heroes of this.
As a registered nurse, give me a sense of what a difference that you think that it's making.
I would hope that maybe we could stop one transmission. You know, if we stop it from getting to one person, then that's stopping it from getting to 500 people. Maybe these stop a little bit of transmission, but at least it's given some people a sense of purpose at home where they're quarantined. People are energized to do something besides just watch the numbers go up. But also, my friends in these hospitals are left with nothing. It's a terrible situation, and we're just trying to get them whatever we can. And now the sad part is, like, the number of requests has also become exponential. So I'm afraid, you know, the need far exceeds what we can print. But at the same time, like, the printers are finding out through reporters like you and stuff, and some of these reports that are going out. So it's a virus that we're tackling with a viral response. So I think that's kind of cool.
And that is going to do it for One Detroit. Thanks so much for joining us. It was really good to see Nolan and Stephen too. They are doing reporting for us, and you can see their interviews and stories at onedetroitpbs.org. All right, in our quest to end on a little bit of a lighter note and kind of take a deep breath from the week, go ahead and enjoy this musical theater performance from 2 students from Wayne State University who were in the production Bus Stop. They never got to perform it, but they're performing the song Black Magic for us now. Enjoy it. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Leave so well, then You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. And thank you to these supporters. And viewers like you.